Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming back at you with Naturia Horus as we are continuing our summer of synchro summoning. I mean, it's me, I'm always synchro summoning, but I've been doing a lot of it this summer between Centurion and Synchron decks, of course. So we're coming back to Naturia Horus, which is not a new synchro deck to me. In fact, I think last time I played this was with a Centurion package as a 60-card deck. I think that variant is still fine, but I think I do prefer kind of the sort of standard Naturia Horus more than anything else. This deck, it does keep increasing in size. I noticed, like, I was on a 40-card build, and I think 42 last time, and now it's 44, right? But I think that I like going over 40 cards for various reasons, right? A lot of the time, like for Synchron, for example, we go over 40 to fit all the engine that we need to, as well as still having a good ratio of hand traps, right? For Naturia Horus, this is one of those decks where we're going slightly over 40. I guess 44 is a little more than slight, but we're going slightly over 40 to make sure that we're not necessarily opening a bunch of cards that we don't want to open, right? And there are quite a few of those in this deck. There's Cypher Driver, there's Naturia Sunflower, there are the one of Horus monsters, which I guess technically you don't have to play Kibestif. You really only need 3 level 8 bodies, but I kind of like having 4. Synchro Rumble's another card that we don't want to open. Normally Naturia Sacred Tree would be up here. A lot of Naturia variants do not want to open Sacred Tree. However, this is not one of those decks. In fact, this is actually a build that gets better when you do open Sacred Tree, because we are going to, of course, be doing a lot of discarding between not only Imseti, but naturally the King's Sarcophagus as well. We even have the Foolish Burial Goods to try to get to our Naturia Sacred Trees a little bit more easily, right? So the main combo line for this deck, for those who are not familiar with it, is that we're just going to be summoning a bunch of level 12 synchro monsters. It's kind of like the same thing Centurion does, and in fact, for a while, as Centurion was about to come out, I was kind of wondering, like, doesn't Naturia Horus do what they do better? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's more they do kind of a similar strategy of turboing out level 12s, they just go about it differently, right? Centurion's more about summoning the 12 during your opponent's turn, and that could be something like Legacia, but this is just going to front load all level 12 synchros that you're going to make, basically, right? So the idea here is that, again, we're going to want to make 3 level 12 synchros using the Horus monsters and our Camellia. The first one you want to make is Crimson Dragon, that way you can grab your Synchro Rumble, which is going to let you get back the Camellia. And then from there, on turn 1, I really like making the Super Heavy Samurai Brave Musaro, because not only do you obviously need a level 12 Synchro for the Crimson Dragon to use its effect, but also this one is pretty good. 4K defense is definitely nothing to sneeze at, but more importantly, this can refill your hand when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, right? And this deck on its turn 1 will do a lot of discarding. There is a lot of games where you're just going to end at turn 1 on 0 cards in hand. In fact, the majority of games, you're going to end turn 1 with 0 cards in hand. So being able to refill it and potentially draw some hand traps with the Brave Musaro is very nice. I'm kind of thinking about actually cutting the Imperms and maxing out on Veilers, kind of for exactly that reason. Kind of similar how to in like MathMech, for example, you would kind of want to max out on Veilers before Imperms. That way, in case you draw something off of Heat Soul during your opponent's turn, you are able to, then use it, right? Because you can Veiler in that situation, which you can't Imperm. Same with Brave Musaro here. So I do think that is one change I would make in the future. I'd cut at least one of the Imperms for another Veiler, if not both. But I like the idea of having one Imperm for a Cross Designator target as well. Let's see here. But yeah, so after you summon the Brave Musaro, of course, you're going to use Crimson Dragon to go into Blazar, and then we can make another level 12 Synchro by using another Horus monster, as well as the Blessing that our tree off of Camellia searched, right? And that'll be another Crimson Dragon too on the opponent's turn, then summon out the Red Supernova. So that's basically what your turn 1 end board is going to look like a lot of the time, right? The Red Supernova, the Blazar, and the Musaro. We do actually play a Centurion card in the extra deck, despite this not really being a Centurion deck. That's going to be Legacia. This is kind of our going second level 12 Synchro. The idea being that, again, if we're going second, we can go into this first, pop an opponent's card, get a draw, before we go into Crimson Dragon and start making our big dragons, right? The Musaro you still might want to make sometimes, I guess, on turn 2, but the Legacia is just another nice option there. Speaking of our other Synchro, or just extra deck options in general, Omega's here in case Gamma resolves. I really like Gamma in this deck, by the way. I've been more up on Gamma in general, I think, the past couple of seasons. But especially in a deck like this, we're resolving so many effects without monsters on the field that are so important, like Imseti's Search, like the Walls Search, like the Sacred Trees Search. Sometimes it kind of depends. So obviously, sometimes it's going to send off the Camellia, but again, if you open it, you can send it off the King Sark or the Imseti or something, right? And more than that, we also have our Mole Cricket. Does actually tribute itself as cost, meaning you will not have monsters on the field if this was your only monster when it's resolving, so you can still Gamma if they try to like Ash Blossom or Maxi in response to that, which is very, very nice. We do also have the level 8 option of going into Omega for an additional hand rip if it's done on our turn. You could also play Excel Stardust and Baron de Fleur for your level 8 synchro of choice to then make an Omni Negate, but that's an extra deck slot, and I mean, the Gamma resolving on your turn is good, but I don't think it happens often enough to warrant the slot. I have played Baron in this deck in the past, like even without the Excel Stardust to make off of Gamma, but making Baron in this deck in that kind of a situation is like, it just doesn't come up often at all. I think it did exactly one time. Speaking of more extra cards that don't come up often, if you don't own Naturia Barkion, don't feel like you have to craft it for this deck. In fact, I've not played Barkion in this deck in the past. Barkion could really only be made by going Camellia plus Maxi or Sunflower. And I think the only time I'd really go out of my way to do that is if I was up against like Lab or something, right? So the Barkion is highly matchup specific and just also extremely rarely comes up. We do have a bunch of rank 8s that are fairly important though. The 38 and the 90 are good inboard pieces if needed. The Zombie Vampire doesn't actually look like it would be that great in this deck. Like, you look at this list and you're like, this is really a deck that wants to mill a lot. But if you are in a situation where you open only Horus stuff and you want to get to your Naturia stuff, Zombie Vamp is actually a pretty good way of doing that. You are pretty decently likely to mill, if not a Naturia Sacred Tree for searches, at the very least a Mole Cricket to then summon out during your opponent's turn, right? And the Zombie Vamp, if nothing else, can help go into the SP Little Knight. Garunix Eternity is another rank 8 to kind of help us if we go second if needed. A board wipe option. Zeus, funnily enough, we could stack on an Xyz monster, or you could actually make this with 2 level 12s. I've never been in that situation where I want to do that, but that is in theory something you could do. Link Kribo is only here with Mole Cricket to go into SP Little Knight with the Banish effect if we need to. That's literally the only reason why Link Kribo is in here. If you really wanted to, if you wanted to play like another Synchro or Rank 8, you could take out the Link Kribo and just leave in the SP Little Knight. I would leave in the Little Knight, it's pretty good, but yeah, Link Kribo is definitely not needed. Let's see, I feel like at this rate, I've already pretty much done the deck breakdown. Let me know, by the way, people who are listening to this part of the video, how useful do you find the deck breakdown, where I go through and I say each card's name and how many copies we're playing? I started doing that towards the beginning of my channel, because when I first started making videos, I would get a bunch of comments like, you know, what's this card? What's that card over there? You know, what does it do? So I like to go through and read them all out loud, but I don't know, if that's not too helpful to you, then maybe I won't do that. Here I'm not going to do it again because I've pretty much clicked on every single card in this deck already, so yeah, you can probably piece together the list there, including the extra deck. But anyway, let's just go ahead and move on to our replays here. Let's start looking at these games. Okay, so this game, I'm actually struggling to remember. These were rating duel games, and I, in my infinite wisdom, forgot to write down what decks I played against. I do remember this game is like a model turn 1 for us. I just don't remember exactly what deck we're up against. So you might look at a hand like this and be like, really? This is a model turn 1 hand? And yeah, this hand might not look super great on the surface, but this is actually a phenomenal full gas hand here. I'm going to start by activating the field spell Walls of the Imperial Tomb, using its effect to add Imseti, Gloria of Horus, and then put back the Naturia Sunflower that's in my hand. Now I can use Imseti with the Naturia Sacred Tree to add the King Sark, draw a card, and then Sacred Tree is going to add me a Mole Cricket. I do want to set up the Mole Cricket. That's actually very important if you get the Sacred Tree search, or a search in general for a Naturia body. Well, I guess really it would just be the Sacred Tree search, right? Grab Mole Cricket and normal bat instead of just grabbing Camellia normally. That way you can set up the Mole Cricket in your graveyard for more follow-up. So we're making that first level 12, the Crimson Dragon, which is going to add the Synchro Rumble from deck to hand. Now from here I can use King Sark to pitch the Kibesnif and send the Dumatef, bringing back the Kibesnif, and then activating Synchro Rumble will allow me to bring back the Camellia and make my next level 12 Synchro. This one, because it's turn 1, is going to be the Super Heavy Samurai Brave Musara-O. Alright, now from here, Crimson Dragon F will target the Brave Musara O and pull out the Cosmic Blazar from the extra deck. So now we have our Omni Negate established. I'm going to use the King Sark to pitch my last Sacred Tree and send Hoppy. Sacred Tree F, I'm going to add another Naturia Blessing from deck to hand, which I will then use one of the blessings to bring back the Camellia for a third time, summoning out the Dumataf and making our third level 12 Synchro, which is once again going to be the Crimson Dragon. And I'm actually going to put it in the EMZ, the extra monster zone, because we only play the 2 Link monsters, and I'm really not planning on summoning them here, so I want to give myself as much space in my main monster zones as possible. That's why Crimson Dragon's up there in the EMZ. I did elect to bring back the Hoppy just to have it on my end board as well. If I'd really been thinking about it though, I think it would have been better to end on Imseti, because looking at my graveyard, there's not like too many things that are like super great to add back to my hand. I mean, like Synchro Rumble and Blessing are fine, but I think I would rather have Imseti in this situation as my leftover Horus monster that I'm going to leave on the field than Hoppy. If I had like some hand traps in here, then I would definitely be feel a lot better about ending with Hoppy on the board, but I mean, either way, it doesn't like super duper matter. Oh, and then I definitely want to set these 2 spell and trap cards, right? Like, of course, Blessing and Crossout could come up during the opponent's turn in general, but again, want my hand to be at 0 for the Brave Musara O draw effect, so going into the return, Crimson Dragon's going to target the Brave Musara O, putting itself back into the extra, going for the Red Supernova Dragon, which again I'm going to put in the EMZ to give myself some room in the main zones. Pot of Prosperity is going to be our opponent's first card for 6. They're going to reveal Maxi Imperm, Fateful Adventure, Ghost Bell, Dogmatica Ecclesia, and Ash Blossom. No wonder I couldn't remember what my opponent's on, because like, what deck plays Fateful Adventure and Dogmatica Ecclesia? I actually can't think. I'm trying to think of a deck that would play both of those cards, and I really can't right now. But either way, this was a pretty bad prosperity for them, which is good for me, because it's mostly hand traps that are not really going to help them anymore, right? And I don't particularly care about Fateful Adventure or Ecclesia. Neither of those like super threaten my board here, so I do get to draw 3 because the Prosp was activated. This is kind of why I want the Veiler here, right? Because, you know, this Imperm's not that great, and then I'm not trying to nib my own board. So that's right, it ended up being Zodiac. I forgot about that. Normal summon Rapier going into Dryden. I'm not using the Blazar to negate any of these summons because I'm waiting for Zeus. I can negate the summon of Zeus and then we'll be able to use this board wipe effect, right? But what I will do now is I'll summon back the Mole Cricket, activate the effect, and then also use Naturia Blessing in the same chain. Because I control the monster with the highest attack, Mole Cricket's only going to be able to bring out 1 monster, but I can use Blessing to pull out the Camellia, and then Mole Cricket to pull out the Sunflower from deck, right? Alright, so they're going to overlay on top of the Dryden. I thought it was going to be another Zodiac monster, but they actually go for the Super Star Slayer Typhoon. Another decision point I had to make here. Do I negate the summon of Typhoon? Because while Typhoon is up, I can't use the effect of Blazar or Red Supernova. However, I'm ultimately going to let the summon actually resolve, as you can see here. And the reason I did that was for exactly that little thing that popped up there. The fact that after this summon has resolved, my opponent cannot summon monsters for the remainder of the turn. I would rather deal with the Typhoon than whatever else my opponent might summon, right? Because, like, yeah, they could potentially bounce one of my big dragons here, although I'm not because I have Sunflower. Really, what they should have done was battled over Sunflower first, then bounced one of my big dragons. But then even that doesn't matter, because I still have the other big dragon, and Camellia, and Hoppy, and Musara O in play in that situation, so... But here in this situation, where they activated while my stuff was still on the field anyway, I'm just going to Sunflower and negate, so... Not that big of a deal. Negate and destroy. And then there we go, that's it. Of course, because we negated and destroyed, that does also leave my Blazar ability to use its effect again. So we didn't even need to use either of our big dragon's effects in order to win that duel. That was just some good old-fashioned Naturia control there. But that is, again, a model turn 1 for this deck. That is, like, if we could pick how we wanted our games to go, this is definitely how it would go every single time. Again, the only difference I would probably do, just very nitpicky, is ending on Imseti instead of Hoppy here. But again, that's extremely nitpicky. So, alright, there is our first duel. Let's go ahead and check out the next one here. Okay, so this next game should be a going second one, if I recall correctly. But again, I just don't remember. I need to start getting better about writing these decks down when I'm in rating duels. Alright, so we're taking the second turn this time. We did open Gamma, as well as a bunch of gas. That's pretty good for us. Alright, opponent's going to start with normal summon Maxis, special summon Sprite Pixies. Oh, a person after my own heart here, as they're going into the gigantic Sprite. Of course, on Gigantic Sprite's effect, I'm going to go ahead and use the Gamma to both negate and destroy it. Very good to do that against Sprite. Well, I mean, it's good to negate and destroy against most decks in general, but especially a deck like Sprite where they're very reliant on having the level/rank/link 2 in play to be able to use their extenders. It makes it all the better. So that is going to ultimately end up being it for their turn, right? I hate to do it to a Sprite enjoyer like myself, but, you know, what can you do? Anyway, Walls of the Imperial Tomb is going to add the Imseti here. I'm going to put back the Synchro Rumble, because I can always search that later off the Crimson Dragon. Imseti pitch itself to go for the King Sark, pitching itself as well as the Kebesnif in hand. So opponent's going to max C here, and I had a decision to make at this point, because Normal Summon Camellius and Mole Cricket obviously isn't going to proc max C, right? But the question becomes, okay, do I play into the max C, or do I just battle and try to pass without giving them draws? The eternal question. Here, in this particular case, I'm totally fine playing into the max C, because I only have to draw, or give them 2 more draws, rather, and summon 2 more bodies in order to make sure that I have lethal on the board. Also, I'm pretty sure this should be 4 summons, right? So we're not playing into a Nibiru. If I can, here's my whole thing with max C going second, right? If I can get an OTK without playing into Nib, I'm always going for it. Whether or not you play into the Nib, often for me ends up being that kind of deciding factor. So it was pretty easy for me this time to be like, yeah, I'm just going to move to battle phase after summoning a couple more Horus monsters and just kind of call it there, right? But if I was playing a more combo-oriented deck, the solution would not be nearly as clean-cut, right? I would have more of a decision to make in that moment. That is definitely one of the biggest benefits of playing a Horus engine, is that you pretty much always have a solid going second game plan, which is, after they've disrupted everything else, summon a bunch of big Horus monsters and just boom, 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 beat down. So we do definitely take those W's as well. Anyway, yeah, got one more game that we're going to show off here, so let's finish off with that one. All right, going into our last game here. This should be another going first game, actually. It's funny how I can remember whether I went first or second, but I can never remember what I played against, if it's not there in front of me. Yeah, okay, so we did go first. Yeah, this hand looks very good. I mean, we have Imseti, we have Mole Cricket, we have Callby, we have everything we need here. I'm actually going to go ahead and pitch the Imseti with the Blessing, because I shouldn't need the extra Blessing here. Although I really should have pitched Walls of the Imperial. Well, no, I didn't pitch Walls of the Imperial Tomb in case this did get negated and I needed effectively a copy of King Sark. So I will use the Callby on the Ash Blossom here, of course. Adding the King Sark and then drawing a Camellia here, but I'm going to normal summon the Mole Cricket, not the Camellia. Again, want to get Mole Cricket into the graveyard, so if you ever have the option to summon one or the other, go for Mole Cricket. Now, my opponent actually made a bit of a misplay here. They chained Max C while the Mole Cricket was still in the field. I guess they didn't realize or forgot that this is actually a quick effect, so I can use the Mole Cricket in response to the effect, and then now I can summon off of it without giving them a draw. Now, I know I just in the last game talked about playing under Max C, right? And how a lot of the time I'm willing to do it. But that's going second. Going first is a totally different story. With this deck, and pretty much any other one, I almost never play into Max C going first. Like, not even one draw, if at all possible. Now, here's how I see it. That if you're going to give your opponent a draw off of Max C, it better be for a really good reason, right? So if I'm giving them one draw to establish like a negate on the board, that's something that I'm fine with. But like, in a situation like this, there's no reason to put any more like Horus bodies on the board. You could, if you really wanted to, be like, oh, I could King Sark and put Imseti in play. That way, if they try to disrupt me, or if they try to, you know, remove my stuff, I can have the Imseti effect. But that's such a heads-up thing that I just don't think it's worth it. I'd rather just try to give them 0 draws and make them brick, right? Plus, here, in this situation, I'm actually not totally in the dark here. Or, not in the dark. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Screwed, I guess? I don't know. Because as you can see, I can still summon out the Mole Cricket and then go for Sunflower pretty much as soon as my opponent summons a monster. Now, I don't think I should have used Camellia's effect there to substitute the Mole Cricket mill, but I guess to be fair, it kind of doesn't matter either way, because they just end up going straight into the battle phase here with the red and carrot. Also playing against multiple Sprite decks, I totally forgot about that. Alright, thankfully we do have the Blessing, but they still have the carrot on the field, so I'm going to wait and see if they link or overlay, and sure enough they do go into the Gigantic Sprite. So now that they've done this, now I'm going to flip up Blessing, and then bring back my Sunflower, at which point they concede. So, because now they can't activate the gigantic sprite effect without it getting negated and destroyed, and it seems like they do not have any more extenders left in the hand. Meanwhile, if you look at my hand, we have still our pretty much full lines to make our big level 12 synchro plays. We have the Naturia and the Horus stuff, so we are more than good to go. All right. That is going to go ahead and do it for these games. I totally forgot that I played against 2 sprite decks. Like, oh, I hate to do it to y'all. I love your deck. But, yeah. That's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Thanks, as always, for watching. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.